Well, welcome to session 2 in our Legacy Pastors and Champions Orientation series. I'm David Wheeler, and I've served as a Legacy Pastor since 2019. And in 2021, I became a Legacy Champion for my local church family here in Seymour, Tennessee, when we launched our grandparenting ministry, which we call GPS, Grandparenting Seymour, pointing our grandkids towards Jesus. And again, I thank you for taking the time to view these brief videos as we serve the Lord through the Legacy Coalition. We want to make sure that we are all on the same page. In this first session, we're gathered in a church sanctuary because we want to help you understand the foundational scriptures and principles upon which the Legacy Coalition has been built. For example, we hope you have memorized some version of what we call our elevator statement. It's a simple response to the question, so what's this Legacy Coalition thing all about? Well, here's the proper response. Well, many grandparents are missing important opportunities to pass on a legacy of faith to their grandkids. But at Legacy Coalition, we help grandparents fulfill their biblical role through our resources and events, so they can have a greater spiritual impact on their families. Now, you put that into your own words and you be ready to share it frequently and passionately. Now, you've all come into contact with the Legacy Coalition and this move of God's Spirit through a wide variety of paths. And aren't you grateful that God arranged this connection? Now, we originally had assumed that all champions and pastors had attended a Grandparenting Matters seminar, what we call Grandparenting 101. However, we discovered that sometimes that is an incorrect assumption. So allow me to quickly share some of the highlights of that seminar. Now, before I do that, let me make you an offer that I hope you don't refuse. If you have not attended the Grandparenting Matters seminar, we'd like to make that happen. We have no doubt that it will impact you as powerfully as it has impacted us. The face-to-face seminar is a 5 to 6 hour, high-energy, highly interactive experience, and it's open as a church hosts it. It's open to all the grandparents from that region surrounding the host church. It involves a lot of preparation and, of course, a higher cost due to the expenses of the in-person presenter. And of course, attendees have to travel to the location where the seminar is presented. Now, the coalition also presents a 3-hour online version of the seminar, and this is available to smaller churches. It's much more affordable, and obviously you can view it in the comfort of your home. So just contact the Legacy Coalition Seminar Coordinator through our website. Identify yourself as a Legacy Champion or Pastor, and they can inform you of dates and locations of live or online seminars. And if you find one that you can attend, either in person or virtually, we'll allow you and your spouse, if you're married, to attend free of charge. And we would love for you to do that ASAP. Now, additionally, in 2022, an updated DVD version of Larry Fowler presenting the Grandparenting Matters seminar was released. Many churches and groups use this as a 6 to 8 week series of classes. So you could purchase that DVD and lead a class or small group from your church. And in addition to you gaining the basic information, it could build momentum for the launch of a grandparenting ministry right there in your own church or community. And by the way, that's exactly what we intend for our champions and pastors to do. Well, our world is full of grandparents who love their grandkids, eager to serve as free babysitters, tickle and snack dispensers, and free playmates. But even non-believing grandparents are doing all of that stuff. Our primary focus is developing and equipping intentional Christian grandparents. We encourage them to take the step from being a wonderful Christian grandparent to being a wonderfully intentional Christian grandparent. And as a new Legacy Champion or pastor, there's little doubt that you are very well aware of our foundational scripture from Deuteronomy 4:9. Now watch yourselves closely so that you don't forget, and then teach these things to your children and to their children after them. See, these verses instruct us to carefully nurture our own spiritual maturity, not to spend so much time watching our children and our grandchildren, being concerned about them, that we neglect to watch ourselves. We watch ourselves, make sure we're walking with Christ, and then we're to teach those spiritual truths that we have learned to our children. And as they mature and leave home, our generational focus shifts to our children's children. Now, in the seminar, we say it this way. You're to watch one generation, that's yourself. As a Christ follower, watch yourself. You're to teach two generations, your children and your grandchildren. You're to think 4 generations based on Psalm 78, verses 5 and 6. We're aiming for and praying about our grandchildren's grandchildren. And then bless all. There may be grandkids nearby who lack godly grandparents that you can bless and serve as what I call Velcro grandparent. Or there may be other grandparents to whom you can introduce this vision of intentional Christian grandparenting. Now, we emphasize that this is not a relay race. That's a race where you stop running after you pass on the baton. No, this is carrying the light of God's truth like the Olympic torch. And then once you pass it on to the next runner, you continue running alongside, offering encouragement and support. And you keep running as far and as long as God gives you life. Jesus was always aiming at the hearts of the people that he encountered. He wanted more than just a simple change of behavior. That's what the Pharisees were after. He wanted a change of heart. So a significant portion of the seminar examines the way that we can impact the hearts of our grandkids as Jesus did. In addition to that, we discovered that many grandparents are frustrated by various barriers. Those barriers may be geographical, relational, emotional, spiritual. Some wonderful principles are shared in the seminar for responding to these various barriers. The geographical, you live in one state, your grandkids are scattered across a variety of other states. How can you pass on a spiritual heritage? There is a way. This section of teaching seems to resonate strongly with many of those who attend the seminar. So many grandparents are dealing with the pain of children and or grandchildren who are no longer walking with the Lord, or sometimes are even antagonistic towards the faith. And hearing the concept of balancing truth and grace as we encounter our adult children and grandchildren who aren't walking with the Lord. Balancing truth and grace, that seems to be a meaningful teaching to those attending. I think the most immediately practical portion of the seminar involves a listing of the 8 best practices of intentional Christian grandparents. Now, very briefly, here are the 8. Ask questions. Be a question asker more than you are a constant advice giver. Number 2, intentional meals. Take advantage of those times when you're around the table with enjoyable conversations, storytelling, prayer, questions, and so on. The 3rd intentional practice is prayer. Praying earnestly, regularly, specifically, letting them know you're praying for them, and sometimes that you're praying with them. 4th, teaching. And this is more than just telling, classroom type setting, but creatively using teachable moments and experiences in your life together with your grandkids. Number 5 is scripture. Reading and memorizing scripture. Age-appropriate Bibles. Musical resources for helping us memorize scripture. Number 6 is telling God's stories. Your conversion story. Stories of many other encounters and experiences during your life journey with the Lord, and embedding God's truth into those stories. Number 7 is share the gospel. Communicate it at their level of understanding and emphasize the importance and the urgency. and trying to help them understand to respond to God's love out of their love rather than fear or guilt or just wanting to make you happy. And number 8 is give a blessing. We in the seminar highly recommend the Levitical blessing in Numbers chapter 6, verses 24, 25, and 26. Now we know that most attendees won't be able to do all of these practices immediately, and none of us is doing any of them perfectly. But attendees see this list as a starting point, an idea of some good starting places for becoming intentional. And we urge them that after the seminar is over to sign up for the free resources that Legacy offers for a continual flow of new ideas and resources and motivation. We suggest the Grand Monday Night Webinar, the newsletter, the blog, and the podcasts. And then finally, we share this definition of an intentional Christian grandparent. Intentional Christian grandparents build strong relationships with both the parents and the grandchildren, because the parents are the gateway to the grandchildren, by the way. They build strong relationships with both the parents and the grandchildren, and they approach every interaction as an opportunity to influence their grandchildren and to perpetuate their faith to future generations. Now, the seminar ends with a stirring reading of my declaration and a challenge of commitment to those who attend the seminar. And you can find a powerful video of Larry Fowler reading my declaration on the Legacy website. And let me give you a hint. Have a Kleenex handy. Kathy and I attended the seminar several years ago, and we currently serve as presenters of the seminar. And at each presentation, we continue to be moved and impressed by this content. This is powerful stuff. And I have barely scratched the surface of that content in this brief video. Hey, by the way, Larry has a few other videos on the website in the archive of Grand Monday Night Webinar presentations. And if you can go and view some of those, that'll not only provide you with more scriptural clarity concerning our mission, but it'll also increase your sense of urgency, your determination to serve as a champion or a pastor with excellence. By the way, I strongly suggest that you take a copy of that seminar workbook with you when you approach church leaders about the ministry of Legacy. That'll help them perceive this need for more teaching, how much content there is, and it may serve as the motivation for starting a grandparenting ministry in their congregation. Well, that wraps up this session, friends. In our third gathering, let's talk about the specific ministry expectations that Legacy holds for their champions and their pastors. I'll see you then.